the push and pull of offense in particular is something I think we get lost in all the time, where it's like, well, you need to run the ball to open up your passing game, or you need to, open up your passing game to make it easier to run. That is all true on some level. You can argue about the order of operations, but it's all, you have Travis Kelce and DeAndre Hopkins in the middle of the field. It should make those deep shots come easier, not and vice versa as well.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
5 things to watch here on KC Sports Network, getting you ready for Chiefs-Bucks on Monday Night Football. Yet another NFC South opponent that the Chiefs will be playing on Monday Night Football. This is brought to you, as always, by Batchelder Family Farms. You can now order Batchelder's fresh farm-raised products online in just a few clicks. You can also find their bison at the Overland Park Farmers Market and the River Market on Saturdays, where they sell their pasture-raised beef and bison, jerky, and eggs. Finally, you can visit their farm store for the freshest cuts and other locally sourced products Wednesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 20810. There it is, South Prospect Avenue in Belton, Missouri. You're going to hear from a variety of voices here on KCSN. You're going to hear from Matt Hamilton. You are going to hear from the guys at Only Weird Games. You're going to get Benny's picks. You're going to get the beef of the week presented by Batchelder from Tucker D. Franklin and Matt Verderam. But I'm here with Matthew Lane. Matty, how we feeling today?
Listen, I mean, we're doing good as always. I'm ready to go get some. I'm ready to get some jerky. That's what's jumping out to me this time. So I'm feeling pretty good. We're gonna get through this. I'm gonna have to get some jerky ready for like a halftime snack of this upcoming Monday night game.
Well, you're talking about snacks, and I'm talking about sacks, because our thing to watch today is Joshua Uche, the new addition to the pass rush for the Kansas City Chiefs. Expecting to see him in this game. Pretty easy transition oftentimes for a pass rusher, especially someone focused probably primarily on the third down role, to be able to come in and try to start making an impact, Matty.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at it from like which position or which role in the NFL is going to be like the easiest to step in right away and just kind of go, pass rusher might be one of them, especially in Uche's situation where even in New England where he's pretty much just a pass rusher. He is a passing down specialist. You're going to put him out there most likely as a wide alignment. Maybe you can even move him around a little bit because the section of the playbook he's good for what he has to do for all intents and purposes is going to be pretty limited and small. Maybe you get him caught up to speed. Worst case scenario, you just go out there, you let him align wide away from Chris Jones and George Karlaftis or whatever kind of, game and tandem pass rush you want to get, and you just have him go one-on-one with whatever offensive tackle he's aligned with. That is something you can probably get pretty game ready with pretty quick. And then in that role, your impact can be really boiled down to 1 or 2 plays in a game, right? Like maybe you only play 7 or 8 snaps, but if on 1 or 2 of those you have a good rush that matters, you kind of did your job. So unlike DeAndre Hopkins, who I think still had a good game in his first matchup or his first time with the Chiefs, this is a role that you can probably get to pretty early on. You can get a big impact from Uche early on in this game. So I'm kind of excited to see what he does and how the Chiefs utilize him with these other pass rushers at the same time.
Oh, I'm very excited to see, because this is definitely something that the Chiefs have not had in recent memory, and it seems like something they've been trying to get to, with the drafting of B.J. Thompson, some rumored interest in a Will McDonald last season, someone that can really rush up the arc, win with speed, win with a great first step. And when I was looking at, our KCSN draft guide write-up on him 4 or 5 years ago when he came out, we just talked about his exceptional first step, that first step from Joshua Uche being special. And it's true. Like, it's translated well to the National Football League. He's a little bit more of a sawed-off kind of rusher. He's not long like they prefer, but he can run up the arc, dip his shoulder, and tackles flat out whiff on him. I do think, there's some capable tackle play here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tristan Wirfs is one of the best rusher or tackles in the National Football League, and Luke Gedeke has made the transition from outside or inside to outside, and he's performed well at the right tackle position for the Bucs to this point. But it could be a good challenge for the Chiefs to try to get Joshua Uche involved, get him rushing up the arc. Matty, who do you think benefits the most from Joshua Uche being on this defensive line?
So this is, I mean, early on like this, it's a little bit tricky because it's hard to pinpoint somebody. I think the addition of Uche is more about getting another person that can win on his own. I don't know if he is going to provide a direct, like, easier matchup for anybody else. I think he is going to be the benefactor of the good matchups. He is going to be benefiting from playing with Chris Jones and George Karlaftis. And this, hopefully for the Chiefs, this is probably what they're thinking. They're getting the Uche that was rushing with Judon a couple years back when he had 11.5 sacks and was setting some pass rush efficiency records because he was getting so many of these one-on-one opportunities and stuff like that. So I think they're kind of hoping that he's the weapon that they get to bring in and utilize there. But if I had to pick somebody long-term, not just this week, but long-term, Charles Omenihu coming back, having another pass rusher might allow you to work him back slowly. It also will allow you to move him around a little bit more. And that's something that I don't think we saw the Chiefs going to do a ton last year, was rush him from the interior as often as he did with the 49ers the year before. So if you allow Omenihu to go inside with Chris Jones while you're having Uche and Karlaftis off the edge, that might be where like the biggest benefit comes in, is just more mobility for Charles once he gets back and allow him to rush from all these different spots.
Yeah, I think that's a good argument to make. All right, I'll ask you this. You said 7-ish snaps. I'm going to set the over-under on snaps at 7.5 for this game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What do you say, over-under?
Oh, okay. If Mike Dana doesn't play, I would take the over, but it sounds like Mike Dana is trending at least towards being questionable for this game. Like, it seems like there's a little bit more optimism this week that he might be able to play. So I'm going to take the under the assumption that Dana can go, and he's going to eat in some of those snaps too. If he can't, though, then I do think you're probably going to lean towards the over.
I think I'm going to go to the over. I think this team wants to see what they got, and I think this could be an advantageous passing down situation, for the Chiefs, where they're going to get a lot of opportunities to pin their ears back, specifically in the second half. I think there's going to be some chances. I think the Buccaneers will be playing from behind for the majority of the game. Any other thoughts before we move on, Matthew?
No, I think I'm just excited. I'm excited to see how they do it. Like, it's one game, so I don't want to dive too far into it. And I don't know if the Bucs are the best matchup, but I am intrigued to see when he's out there if the Chiefs alter how they rush the passer a little bit. Do we get a little bit more of the high-low pass rush that we kind of talked about earlier this week on the KC Lab on Monday when Craig and I were talking? Is that the goal? Are they just unleashing Uche to go deep around the arc and getting him as the high rusher while they try to flush somebody back into him? Or is it still pretty traditional? Everybody respects proper rush lanes and we'll just condense the pocket. So I am intrigued to see how that goes. I don't know if we see a ton of information into that this week, but I will have my eyes for it. And so I think we're going to go from one new addition and to another. So let's go talk to Matt Hamilton and see what he has to say about DeAndre Hopkins matchup against this Buccaneers secondary.
One thing I'm looking for from the Chiefs on Monday night is how they utilize DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, that first game against the Raiders, we saw him out there on only 32% of the snaps, had a couple of catches, looked good, though, had a big third down conversion for them. We're seeing him operate in the middle of the field, find some of those holes in zone coverage. And, of course, only had 2 days of practice, so that was kind of to be expected. Now, with an extra day of practice, with the Monday night game, I'm really wondering how much that usage increases here against a Tampa Bay secondary that's really been struggling lately. They're 29th in the NFL in pass defense. They are banged up. Jamel Dean is on IR. A lot of injuries in that secondary as well. So I think if we're going to see this Chiefs passing game come alive, it's going to be on Monday night. And we've heard nothing but positive things about DeAndre so far from everybody in that building. Travis Kelce talking about how much juice he's brought, just having a superstar veteran of that caliber in the room just lifts up everybody. DeAndre himself seems re-energized by it, and he's talked about how they want to utilize him more. Patrick even talked about how there were opportunities where he could have gotten him the ball, and he wants to get better at that. So, so far, the early returns, again, you can't have too high an expectation with the guy having 2 days of practice trying to fill in last week, but from what we saw in those limited reps, I really liked how he was running his routes, how he was finding spots in the zone, how he was getting open, making those catches. He was open in the red zone too. Probably should have had a touchdown if Patrick spotted him. But I think we do see a big day from him against this Tampa Bay secondary. I think we see him get in the end zone. I think we see him utilized, especially in the red zone a little bit more. I think that's where we're going to see his snaps increase because I think there's ways to get him involved down there more, where he doesn't have to be as fully up to speed with the playbook and the offense. But again, this is a long-term play. The Chiefs are in tremendous shape right now, 2-game lead in the loss column for the 1 seed. So this is a move that's just going to continue to pay dividends as the season goes on. But I'm really interested. I'd love to see what he has in prime time against a secondary where he's going to have the ability to make some big plays. Back to you, Maddie.
Thank you, Matt. No, that's a good thing to keep an eye on for how Hopkins could come up big with his second game with the Kansas City Chiefs. And we're going to get right back to more things to watch in this upcoming matchup right after this.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
I love a great deal just as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. No hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. And you know what? It turns out it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSN5. That's mintmobile.com/KCSN, the number 5. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSN5. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
This episode is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming. Every man knows the unbeatable feeling of a fresh barbershop shave. Well, now what if I told you that you no longer have to wait weeks or even months between appointments to experience that same feeling? Introducing Manscaped's newest innovation, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver, the game-changing tool that brings the luxury of a professional shave right into your home. Whether you're after that daily silky smooth finish or prefer to maintain a rugged 5 o'clock shadow, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver is your go-to for precision and style every time. Head over to manscaped.com and join the over 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using code KCSports for 20% off plus free shipping. With the Chairman Pro, I could tell my confidence was boosted, and it has incredible versatility whether I wanted a clean shave or a little bit of stubble to look clean as well. Get the Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that is as smooth as you deserve. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code KCSports at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code KCSports at manscaped.com.
Welcome back to 5 Things, the podcast where we give you 5 different things to watch in the upcoming Chiefs game. This one is a Monday nighter against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We have talked a little bit about 2 new additions, and now it is time to get into the beef of the week and see how the Chiefs' interior offensive line can help make some run lanes.
Beef of the week here on 5 Things, sponsored by our great friends at Bad Shelter Family Farms. And look, you guys already know you can order their farm fresh raised products online in just a few clicks at badshelterfamilyfarms.com. If you want to see the cuts of meat for yourself, you can find them and their bison at the Overland Park Farmers Market and the River Market on Saturdays, where they sell their pasture-raised beef, bison, jerky, and eggs. Also, look, just go to the store Wednesday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., 2810 South Prospect Avenue in Belton, Missouri. Go check them out. They got a sweet bison deal going on for a few more days, so go check that out. $100, you can get a huge bison bundle, little bison starter pack you can get before Chiefs take on the Buffalo Bills. But as the Chiefs gear up for a Monday Night Football contest against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we're talking beef because, look, the Chiefs got some pretty beefy boys up front in the interior, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have one beefy boy themselves in Vita Vea. Vita Vea, very large human being. The Chiefs have a pretty darn good interior. That's going to be the beef, is how these interiors of these lines go against each other.
Well, listen, Vita Vea is he's got some beef to him. Now, it's crazy though. The Buccaneers' run defense this year, like you think with Vita Vea inside, like all right. Like, gonna be pretty tough. Second worst defense in the league against the run, yards per carry, which is crazy. You would never think that, but it's true. They are giving up 5.2 yards per rush. Only the Giants are worse. They have given up 10 touchdowns on the ground. Only 3 teams worse than them in that department: Carolina, Dallas, and Cincinnati. You might realize none of those teams have a winning record. They have been torched on the ground this year. So Vita Vea, look, a great player, but he's not getting a whole lot of help from the surrounding unit here. Their pass rush has been spotty. Their edge rushers are not great. The linebackers, like Levante David's a name you know, but he's also like 57 years old at this point. So, look, the Buccaneers, the beef is there. The beef is inside. But they have really struggled to stop the run. And obviously it's something that with the Chiefs, look, they're going to try to exploit. It's something where Kareem Hunt, I would expect that he's going to get plenty of carries. And with Kareem Hunt, if he's getting the ball, he's going inside of it. Now, the Chiefs, very weird team statistically with the rush.
Yeah.
Success rate, through the roof. Last I checked, number 1. That was before I checked this week, but like really, really, really high. Yards per attempt, the Chiefs are 28th in the league at 3.9. But here's the thing with the Chiefs. Every rush, it feels like, goes for 3.9.
Right.
Like, they're very efficient. So the question's going to be, can the Bucs get some negative plays out of that run game? Can they hold them to 0 or 1 or even push them back? If they can't, that sets up the play action pass. That sets up some advantageous throwing situations, and Chiefs feel good about that.
We talked about this kind of too on that football show this week. The Chiefs have kind of had an identity shift in how they have approached the offense this year in 2023. Looking at the PFF midseason All-Pro team, the 3 interior offensive linemen are all Kansas City Chiefs. Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, they are on PFF's midseason All-Pro team. So those are the only players actually on PFF's All-Pro team that are on the offensive side of the ball are the 3 interior offensive linemen.
That seems fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't know who else would be there. So, I don't look. We, in the spirit of talking about beef here, they got to pay Trey Smith, man. Like, I'm sorry if it comes down to Trey Smith and Nick Bolton, and Nick Bolton's been fine this year. He started slow. He's played very well since. Bro, you're paying Trey Smith. Now, maybe they'll feel otherwise because Bolton is a green dot and all that stuff. But, like, right now, who's the Chiefs' best linebacker?
Lipschnell.
Yeah. Like, Trey Smith, like, I would extend Thuney and get his 26.9 number down next year.
Yeah.
And so if you extended Thuney, let's say you gave him a 2-year extension. So his contract would be next year and then 2 more.
Right.
Take that 26.9 number, get it down to like 10, and then a couple of years after that, and you got him till he's like 34. So what? The guy's an All-Pro every year.
Yeah.
And guards age well anyway, because it's not about foot speed and all that. It's really more about technique and functionality, and you're fine. You're in your mid-30s. And then take Trey Smith, and just next year, fine. Give him a bigger year 1 than you normally would, and have the Thuney money is essentially going there. That's savings. Or give him a small year 1 like they typically do, and then take Thuney's 16.9 savings in that and roll it over. And that basically pays for most of the year 2. So there's a lot of ways to do this, where you extend Thuney, you sign Trey Smith, and you're basically not paying anything extra for 2 years.
Yeah.
Thoughts? That's what I got.
That's a good thing to think about as we end this beef of the week. Look, Joe Thuney has been, I think, worth this contract. I think Trey Smith will be worth this contract, and maybe even more, as he's going to be probably worth every dollar. He's been making a whole lot of money this year.
Yeah,
that's gonna do it for our beef of the week. Make sure to go check out Bad Shelter Family Farms at the Farmers Market in Overland Park, at their shop, or at the Downtown Farmers Market as well. Go check them out. BadShelterFamilyFarms.com. You can get that farm fresh beef right to your door. So we're going to head and send it back for more 5 things.
Hugh Tucker, that's going to be big. That's one of the biggest matchups of the week, really. We're talking about that interior offensive line versus Vita Vea. That's a big one. And now I think it is time we shoot on over to Benny and catch on some Benny's picks. We got to make sure we write these down, guys.
What's happening, people? Good to be back again for week 9 of the NFL. Getting you ready here on 5 things for Bucs and Chiefs on Monday Night Football. Bounce back week for us last week. Went 2-1. Felt pretty strong about some of those plays, and let's hope for some continued success here into the primetime edition to close out week 9. Don't forget, if you guys have not signed up here in the month of November for Underdog, make sure you guys check it out. If you use the promo code KCSN when you sign up, there's an opportunity to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash on your first deposit. Plus, you get a week 9 free pick, Jalen Hurts, to go higher than 0.5 passing yards. Should imagine that he'll be able to take care of that this week without any sort of hesitation. Jalen Hurts higher than 0.5 passing yards. Again, use that promo code KCSN. Great month of October, too, with all the boost-tobers that were a part of things, and November should be no less than terrific, especially as we start to get closer to Thanksgiving. But let's dive into the matchup, go through some 3 higher, lower plays for Pick'em over on Underdog. We're going to start on the Tampa Bay side and go with their tight end, and that's Cade Otton. You may not have heard much about Otton, but last couple weeks, he's gone off, and I like him to go higher than 4.5 receptions this week on Monday night against the Chiefs. Bucs dealing with a lot of injuries, and coming into week 9, Baker Mayfield's been slinging the ball all over the field, been leading the NFL in touchdowns, also thrown 9 picks this year, but we'll get to some of that in just a second. But Mike Evans hurt, Chris Godwin hurt, and those guys were putting up monster numbers. And after those 2 went down, we saw Otton really see his target share exponentially go up. Past couple of weeks against the Ravens and the Falcons, Cade Otton has seen 20 targets, 10 in each game. He's racked up a combined amount of 17 receptions and 181 receiving yards. Now you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, yeah, it's against the Chiefs defense. Is he really going to be able to put up some of those numbers? For as good as they have been, the Chiefs still have had their issues all season at containing tight ends. They've allowed second most fantasy points to the position in 2024. Otton should be no different, especially with Mayfield likely having to throw the ball a ton. And look at the actual odds for this game too. Chiefs anywhere in that 8.5 to 9 range. So they're projected to have to throw the ball quite a bit. I don't think we're going to see it get to double digits. In fact, we've actually seen the number go down. But for purposes of Underdog, 4.5 receptions, I like the higher there. Plus, there's still that 20% red zone rush promotion that Underdog is offering, where you get 20% on touchdowns. The number for Otton currently sits at 1.67x. So times that by an additional 20%, and you're looking at a nice chunk. So I like the 4.5 higher on receptions for Otton, but I certainly think he's worth consideration for a touchdown play, higher than 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns on your Underdog card this week. All right, let's go to the Chiefs tight end, Travis Kelce. Speaking of boosts, I talked about the red zone rush 20%. Let's go ahead and just lock this in for Kelce right now. We saw it last week with DeAndre Hopkins coming on board, taking over that Rashee Rice role as that go-to possession receiver. Kelce's opportunities now have opened up substantially in the middle of the field. You actually go back to some of his numbers since early October. Kelce's starting to look more like himself. We've seen 70-plus yards, 7 or more receptions in 3 of the last 4 games. The Bucs defense, arguably a bottom 5 unit right now in the NFL against the pass. Sharing a note from my buddy Derek Brown over at Fantasy Pros, the Bucs have allowed 6 different tight ends to accumulate more than 40 yards in each of their last 5 games, while giving up multiple touchdown performances to opposing tight ends in each of their last 2 games. Sometimes these numbers can get a little bit inflated for superstar tight ends like Kelce. So while I think he's still set to have a very good game, you know that he's going to be targeted in the red zone against the team that has had all sorts of issues stopping the tight end. So I like the boost option in play for Kelce. Go ahead and play that there to go higher than 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns for 87 on the day. And then last one on the card for this week, we're going to take a lower play for a Chief. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but Kareem Hunt, the number set at 69.5 rushing yards. And I'm going to have him go lower here. And you might say to yourself, well, Ben, that doesn't really make sense. The Chiefs are, 8.5, 9-point home favorite. Hunt has seen all sorts of volume since he has arrived in Kansas City. The Bucs defense has been one of the worst in the NFL. All of that bodes well for Hunt, but I still feel like this is a matchup to fade. The first reason that I think you need to do it is that he's just not getting the extra push. The chunk plays for Kareem Hunt really haven't been there. His broken tackle rate been excellent, so still a guy that you can trust in the red zone. If you want to even consider him for a 20% boost for a touchdown, I think that's certainly in play. But over his last 4 games, the yards per carry number for Hunt just keeps going down, down, down. It's at 4.8 in his first game for the Chiefs. It's now 2.8 in that last game in week number 8. He's also dealing with a quad injury. I don't expect that to keep him out of Monday night, but in the event that it's still bothering him, and the fact that the Chiefs are, if they're able to take care of business and give themselves a lead, why risk it with Hunt? You can still use some Carson Steele. You can still use some Samaje Perine. You can keep Hunt as fresh as you possibly can, knowing that you're going to need him for those big carries inside the 5 and the 10, where he has been incredibly effective so far this year. So I just don't think this is a number that Hunt needs to get to for the Chiefs to be successful. The volume, he still might have 15 and 20 carries, but even if he gets, 15 and he's averaging, 4.8 yards a carry, I'm not great at math, but that's barely getting to that mark. And he hasn't been anywhere close to 4.8 really since that first game of the year that he started in. So this is the moment where I think you fade the number on Hunt. He's going to get volume. It's the right game script, but everything else kind of points me in the opposite direction. So again, those picks on underdog for week 9 for Buccaneers and Chiefs. Cade Otton, higher than 4.5 receptions. Travis Kelce, higher than 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns. Again, take advantage of that red zone rush with the 20% boost. And Kareem Hunt, let's go lower than 69.5 rushing yards. Let's see what the Chiefs can do. It should be a fun back and forth game. A lot of offense. We get to see the offense continue to wake up over at Arrowhead on Monday night. And with that, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Benny. And finally, we have got 4 things in. We need our 5th thing. So we are heading over to the guys at Only Weird Games to hear about hitting some vertical shots down the field and if the Chiefs might take a few more of them in this game.
Thank you, Matthew, Joshua Briscoe, and Nate Taylor. 2/3 of Only Weird Games here with you for our thing ahead of Chiefs and Bucks. Nate, something we've talked about quite a bit, something that fittingly enough Seth has talked about quite a bit, is something that Patrick Mahomes did mention in passing on Thursday. He was asked about DeAndre Hopkins. He made it about DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce in the intermediate, certainly a thing to look forward to. But he said that presence there in the middle should really open up the deep passing game. We haven't really seen them dial up very many deep shots to Xavier Worthy to this point. What's the order of operations there? What's the chicken? What's the egg for why those deep connections aren't happening just yet?
Yeah, I think part of it is the team has really only given Xavier Worthy like 2 deep shots per game if you look at it from like a per average standpoint. Now the Raiders game is its own unique thing because you're trying to incorporate DeAndre Hopkins as much as you are trying to get him to free up Travis Kelce and vice versa. So you might see that over the next couple weeks. Obviously in this game on Monday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I know Seth wants, especially based on how efficient the running game is, that Seth wants more under center, play action, actually take your shots, somewhere near midfield, right? So you can have a 50 to 40 yard touchdown pass. It doesn't help, Josh, that the one time they really did that, Patrick Mahomes somehow overthrew Xavier Worthy against the San Francisco 49ers, and then literally the drive ended when Xavier Worthy fell down on a corner route. So there's been some bad timing or some poor execution involved. But yeah, I understand now that you know what DeAndre Hopkins can provide, you should take more shots moving forward.
And the thing about that, and again, like specifically kind of honing in on Mahomes' comments, just as another element of it, we talked quite a bit about everything else. It's funny to hear him go that route with it because the inverse is just as true. Like the push and pull of offense in particular is something I think we get lost in all the time, where it's like, well, you need to run the ball to open up your passing game, or you need to, open up your passing game to make it easier to run. That is all true on some level. You can argue about the order of operations, but it's all You have Travis Kelce and DeAndre Hopkins in the middle of the field. It should make those deep shots come easier, and vice versa as well. Xavier Worthy stretching the field should give even more space for Hopkins and Kelce to work with. So it's all good. It's all helpful. I am a little bit surprised that as they've tried to get some more touches and some more reps for Xavier Worthy, certainly a worthy cause, no pun intended. God, I mean it. I promise it wasn't intended.
Kind of.
That was too on the nose for me to have intended it. But when you do have this rookie first-round pick you traded up for, that you have rookie hopes for and career hopes for, which are two very different things, I know, I would imagine that when the one deep shot didn't hit because of the fault of the quarterback, not because of the rookie, just give us a few of those each game until they figure out what that connection really looks like. It just makes a lot of sense, and it feels like it's been a lot more labored than I was expecting it to be. I thought we would see a couple of those from him in week 1, 2, and 3, much less week 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate that, like, the one deep shot that comes to mind is a blown coverage by the Baltimore Ravens in the first game of the season, right? I know some people will say, well, Nate, what about the play to Xavier Worthy that really got them on the scoreboard against the Chargers? Okay, we have 2 examples in a 7-game sample, and that's not good enough, honestly. I do wonder if some of this is predicated on the fact, and I know we're going to, we talked about this in Only Weird Games, but, like, there's a reason that, like, the left tackle is still kind of an issue, right? Like, if you had just an above average left tackle, a Pro Bowl caliber left tackle, you would have more opportunities to take deep shots, or maybe there would be more chances for Mahomes to extend plays that would lead to a longer completion. So it's hilarious that this team is undefeated, Josh, and yet for all the talk about the deep ball in training camp, for Hollywood Brown to be a factor to help Xavier Worthy and vice versa, now it's like, okay, if it's not Xavier, it's the second guy. I mean, I gotta say it. Is it Justin Watson again? Is it again? Like, could you call plays for Justin Watson downfield?
I'd like to see it, I suppose. I'd rather see it go to Xavier Worthy, but it's still surprising that there's been so few deep shots. Something to keep an eye on in prime time on Monday night. For Nate Taylor, I'm Joshua Briscoe. I guess in a spiritual sense, for Seth Kaiser as well. We'll send it right back to Maddie Lane.
Awesome, guys. Thank you. That's perfect. So that has been 5 things here at KCSN. We appreciate you guys, as always, for stopping in to listen. That's 5 different things you can watch. We appreciate it all. We got the KCSN postgame show is coming right after the game on Monday. So as soon as the game wraps up, over on YouTube on the KC Sports Network channel, we will be live with our postgame show talking about a hopeful Chiefs win as they stay undefeated. Until then, we're just going to sit back, enjoy some good football until Monday night.